Hey everyone, how's it going? Pitch Canker here with another episode of How to Draw a Monster. And today we're doing one of my favorites and something I draw quite a bit. We're doing demonic hounds. Now, this often gets conflated with like werewolves and things like that, but this is just an evil dog, basically. There are some really famous examples of this. We have Cujo by Stephen King, who's like a dog that just like runs down people. The Hound of the Baskervilles, which was like a demonic dog that Sherlock Holmes had to solve a mystery about. And then, of course, we have Cerberus, guardian in Hades or in the Greek underworld. And then we have the big-eyed hound from like Over the Garden Wall or something like that. These are all examples of like a demonic dog, basically, or demonic hound. And so when drawing this, some key elements to help, work this kind of monster for me are the jowls, the fangs, the drooling maw, kind of its matted fur against its huge frame. I'm talking like distorted anatomy as well, exaggerating the scarier features, those big eyes, those big teeth. Think of Little Red Riding Hood, right? Like that's a very classic idea of like an evil dog creature. I think that's really cool. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to have human qualities. As you can see here, as I'm drawing this piece, actually, I was kind of debating whether or not to make this into a werewolf or an actual, just like an evil dog. And ultimately, I settled on the dog because I do think that kind of beast-style quality is kind of what I was going for. I was actually recording another video about like half human, half animals too at this point, and I was like, that would be kind of redundant to work on two pieces that were both kind of like human-animal hybrids. So I wanted to make this one a little bit more like beastly, basically. And I was having some trouble trying to decide how big I wanted to make this initially. Do you want a piece to be almost like an anatomy study of a monster, or do you want it to be kind of showing off its most horrific qualities? And for me, the head had to be the focal point. No matter which way I went, I wanted that head to be a really critical part. And I was like, what would be scarier than like trying to escape the jaws? Of this creature, right? Like, how do you make a dog scary? You can give it big fangs, you can give it, a bunch of drool, and you can give it crazy eyes. But I thought adding an arm, like shooting out of the mouth, would be a really cool way to tell a story with the piece. I think that's what's important, especially with something like this, which doesn't have any, particularly crazy characteristics. Making it, it's not a chimera which has multiple body parts. It's not like a shadow being. It's just a really scary dog. And so, how do you make something scary? Well, I think being eaten alive would be really scary for me personally. That would scare the life out of me. But ultimately, you can go in any kind of direction you want. You can, maybe add a person on the ground cowering in fear. Maybe you add nothing. Maybe you just focus a lot on the face and the features. I think I was talking with some people in the YouTube comments the other day, and what I noticed was they were like, "Well, I love to draw fangs, and fangs are really scary." Because I had mentioned, I'm like, I don't think that fangs generally are very scary. But I think in a context like this, where everything about the piece is so vicious and so angry, and like you're almost like caught in the clutches of this thing that's staring you down, it can be frightening. It's not uncanny. It's not that type of horror which makes you feel uncomfortable, but it's like a vicious primal horror, like a terror, if you will, which I do appreciate as well. And for a piece like this, I don't think I would give this dog like human teeth. I think it just adds so much to have these kind of like very sharp fangs that line its mouth, like more than you would even think that it would have, like, in an actual anatomy study. And that's just another thing with this kind of monster. You do want to know the anatomy of a dog. You do want to know the basics of how its snout works, its muzzle, and you can distort the features from there. And I find personally, just after one session of like, going on Google, drawing a few dogs that you see there, drawing their faces, drawing their snouts, maybe get like 10 to 20 drawings in of that, you'll be surprised how much better you know the anatomy, and therefore how much better you can make your piece, basically, ultimately, right? And with a piece like this, I think it's just important that you exaggerate features, right? So this is a dog, ultimately. You don't want to stray too far from that. You're not adding crazy features. You're not doing a bunch of wild stuff. You're drawing a dog. You're drawing something that just needs to become evil. How do you make something evil? Well, you need to have a core understanding of what you're drawing. And it just makes it light years easier if you have a vague idea of how the mechanics of it work, how the jaw hinges, how the eye is set in the head, where it's set in the head. And from there, you can kind of like, make things crazy. I have the jaw in its proper place, and you can see here, I extend it way far back beyond its normal limit. But that original dog maw is still there, which really helps create that illusion that this is a dog, even though it's so far removed. This doesn't look like a dog at all anymore. It looks like something out of like, I don't know, like Bloodborne or something like that. But you look at the eye, like they don't have eyes that are set like that in particular, but it is in the right spot. I did kind of draw a human eye in there though, and kind of laid it flat, and I haven't made it look crazy yet. But it's so important to just take something that's already there and just warp it and bend it, and that's like really the beauty of imagination, is being able to change that up and do a whole bunch of different things with that. As you can see, I kind of add a little bit of detail into the fur. It all kind of starts to come together here. And there was just something I wanted to add here, because I was originally going to edit this out, but I think it's an important part of the process, because, I was like, there's a YouTube video about the devil hound. I want people to think that I come into these videos knowing exactly what I'm going to draw start to finish. And this is an important part for me, because I went back and I was like, well, maybe I should make this about a werewolf. Maybe we can give this thing some arms. Maybe we can make it crazy. Maybe we can make it a little spookier. And it's one of those things where I think it's just fun to try these kind of things. You shouldn't hold yourself back from inspiration because you're afraid of how a video or a piece is going to be received. You should experiment and kind of see what you can do, because ultimately that's how you find out if a piece is something that you like, and you could say, oh wow, like I actually really love that I added this hand here or something like that. Now, in reality, I don't end up using this portion. I don't actually go with this werewolf design because it was kind of frustrating me. I was getting away from the original kind of like beautiful simplicity. And I think with monster pieces like this, where you have so much freedom, and your biggest thing is just like you got to stay inspired, and you're trying to really experiment the whole time and figure out what looks scary, because there's nothing that's like set in stone. Like, this is definitely scary. I could tell you one thing, but even I am constantly learning and trying to figure out this after drawing like 1,000 really scary pieces over the past couple of years, you know? So what I find helps is just kind of, if you're not sure which direction to go with a piece, either adding more detail or less detail or what, Procreate's great, because I just create a duplicate of the piece, and then I, work on the duplicated copy. And if I don't like it, I go back to the original, and I kind of keep it simple. In this situation, I think the simplicity of the original piece was a lot better, and so I ended up going with that. And yeah, you can see here, I just kind of like jump back into this horizontal piece. And I kind of just fixed the hand a little bit, try and make it a little bit of a better composition, because I do think the flow is a little off. But after fixing that, I'm really happy with how this came out. And that's just how I approach drawing this kind of demonic hound. I hope this video was enjoyable to you guys. This was a lot of fun to make. I really enjoyed drawing this guy. Thanks to everybody who watched the last video. We really popped off with it's like 60,000 views, I think, or so. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for watching. I will be making this into kind of like an extended series. I'm hoping to do maybe one a week at this point, but we'll see how it goes moving forward. Either way, thank you so much, you guys, and thank you especially to my Patreon supporters. You guys are the best. We had a bunch of new subscribers, so I will have to update that list at the end of this video next week. But I'm thinking about doing a poll for the next one of these videos, and which monster is going to like win out, basically. I have a few ideas, maybe shadow people, maybe something a little bit more obscure, but I'm going to go over it this week after the holiday. So thank you for watching, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching.